Good morning, the 15th of February 2025, and it's about 8:50, I suppose. It's bright outside, and getting quite bright. JD Vance is the name of this video. It's not freezing, it's not freezing, but it's wet and damp, and there's a sort of a fog, and it has been all night. One of the things that I allow on the channel is the interjection by the lefties. We have about 4 lefties. All right, is there a Healy fella there, and there's a Sullivan, and there's Coughlin's Tom, who hasn't appeared in a while, and you have to bear in mind they could be all one and the same person. I blocked horns with them for ages on social media, so I understand how they work. But one of the things that I made a video last night in the van as I was coming back from an event down the country. And one of the things that came clear from Sullivan was that, all events have to be drink orientated. And if you're a connoisseur of whiskey, which I am one of the world's top connoisseurs of whiskey and experts on it, that you must be an alcoholic. That's like saying someone who has a cough and takes a spoon of Benylin is an alcoholic. But this is the level of indoctrination these people are subject to. And their view is, if it doesn't come from the state, it's not a proper opinion at all. In actual fact, where there are children running around, in my social circles and family, we tend not to have drink a big factor. Maybe a glass of wine, maybe a glass of Guinness. We tend not to have drink a big factor. And if they're driving on the job, I don't bother with it at all. I don't have to drink. I can drink when it suits me, and I rarely drink in the daytime. But I do drink this stuff here. It has a very jazzy little screw cap on it, and I was thirsty last night coming back, and I treated myself to the large one, the large one, Capri Sun. Yeah, so that just does the job. Well, when you have good food, you like to wash it down. Anyway. The thing about it is that things I do where there's youngsters is immediately pull out when the things quieten down, pull out the sheet of paper and the biro and knots and crosses. And what I do is I immediately tell them straight away, I can't be beaten. I'm the best knots and crosser player in the world. And then I go on and I win a few games beating, and then I leave an opening that they beat me, and then I sulk. I'm not playing that game anymore. They come on. You said you were the best, and that's how you get the fun going with youngsters. There's another game called 5 in a Row, very, very good for kids. I reared mine on it. We grew up on those games, and I attribute that to my sharp brain in many ways, and playing cards in many ways. Also a bit of hunting. Anyway, let them keep at it. It's great to have a few lefties. I mean, the channel wouldn't be the same without them. Wouldn't be the same without them. But don't be afraid to engage them there and ask them questions underneath. Now, JD Vance. Now, one of the things that has happened is, I think it was yesterday, I was away, but one of the things that's happened is the Vice President of the United States, JD Vance, has given a speech in Munich in Germany at the Security Conference in Munich. And it's a must-see. It's a must-see. Oh, what a speech. And you see, he speaks in English so we can understand him. Oh, the lefties are hopping. Trump is not as vicious as I would like him to be. And I would like him to be more extreme. If I ever get my hands on power, I'll be extreme. Lefties will be made a subspecies and treated accordingly. Bit like a lower form of the species, because left-wing people are a subspecies unless they're in power, in which case they're manipulating the other lefties. But in any event, Vance got up this security meeting. What did the Europeans want? They want the American soldiers to lay their blood and sweat down for them, so they can promote their stupid left-wing junk with their energy baloney, with all the suppression of freedom of speech. Now, you'll have to look at it. My computer's in with the doctor. It's in getting looked at. And I can't play it to you here, but I will be getting out soon. And I'm away, I'm busy this weather. But the thing is that among the classics, he told them, he says, if we people in America can stick Greta Thunberg for several years. You can stick Elon Musk. What a priceless way to say it. That fella is material for the next president, J.D. Vance. I didn't like that. And half them didn't clap. Europe is infested with lefties. And in actual fact, from my political opinion, I have two friends in the world, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. I'd say the people of Europe would have more freedom under Putin than under his crowd. But among the things he told them was, in some country, I think it's Sweden he said it there, that it's illegal to pray if you live within 200 metres of an abortion clinic in your own house. So if you live here and there's an abortion clinic 100 metres up the road and you pray in your own private house, you can be jailed. I was banned off X on Twitter for criticising Greta Thunberg, and I had to pull away the post because of the election. I'm sorry now I did it. I intend to do it again and see what happens. What I posted was, Greta Thunberg would be better off if she planned her life. How does she know she won't have an abusive husband in the future that'll beat the daylights out of her? But anyway, she had the sway for so long. He criticised her energy policy, but he was big on the right to free speech. We had a retired policeman in Britain. They were trying to jail him, and he had to go all the way to the highest courts to stop the communist government in Britain. They're watching the internet. I'd say if I were in the UK, I'd be arrested. Didn't come here yet. Helen McEntee tried it. And in fairness to the Irish people, they didn't like what she was trying to push, which was a two-tier system where you could be jailed for insulting the views of somebody else, but they can insult you all the like, and they can murder you. Now, there was another crime in Munich, in the same city, before Vance gave the speech, in which an immigrant drove a car, I think a Mini Cooper, into a crowd of people. I'm thinking of that I might be able to work out through certain mathematical instruments the Poisson method from one, where attacks will be in Europe, and I'll give them in advance. I'll be able to tell you where there'll be an attack in Rome, be an attack in Zurich, and have them in advance, because attacks by immigrants are guaranteed in all countries, and we will have about 7 in Ireland in 2025 when the weather gets a bit better. We're going to lose at least 3 people killed, some of them children, stabbed and driven over by machinery. Now, we had their election. We know they didn't vote for us. That's all right. But what you have here is the steamship, a big ship of the EU, funneled into a canal where it can't turn. It's heading just into it. And then you have the American ship coming down, and it has changed crew. The whole crew in America has been changed in a very ruthless way and quite effective with their attack on USAID and all this. It's 80% effective. I'd have those guys running the USAID in jail. There should be American emergency legislation. So Vance criticised the EU for denying personal freedoms, and he more or less told them, if you think we're going to fight for you and your woke, green, cultural Marxist nonsense, you are making a big mistake. You start paying your way if you want protection, and you stop inventing this racket that Russia is about to invade Europe. Russia has more land than it can ever use. It can't farm all its farmland. This is all to promote the sales of arms, weapons and ammunition, and promote war, which is the only thing the deep state understands. So his speech is well worth watching. It's about 16 minutes long. It's delivered in the English language, so it's great. He got a clap from some, but not from others. So the most important thing for me personally is to see the lefties suffer, to see the pain and the anguish they suffer, to see them hurt, to see Chuck Schumer in the States hurting, to see Nancy Pelosi hurting. Revenge is sweet, but it's a dish best served cold. And it is being served cold now. They got away with it for a while. They think they're going to get away with it for good. They're making a big mistake. How will they solve the Ukraine? Well, Trump is ignoring Europe altogether. And he's made a very interesting point. It wasn't in J.D. Vance's speech, but it was French who said it. He'll negotiate with the European countries, leaders, but not the EU because they're not elected. The European Commission and Ursula von der Leyen is not elected by the people. They're not democratically elected. Starmer is considering cancelling UK council elections, which would see him devastated. I can't say whether that'll happen or not. It's a bit early. There was a president elected in Romania. They dumped him out. They got the court, a corrupt court, to rule that there was Russian interference. They're trying to ban the Alternative for Deutschland in Germany. And I'd say Vance's speech is really underlying attempt to persuade you Germans, you never make small mistakes, to vote for the Alternative for Deutschland en masse. That's what you have to do. If you do it, it will speed up the peace process. It will speed up the recovery of Europe financially, if that's possible. If you don't do it, it'll be shoved up yous anyway. I wish I had my computer here. I'd get that in German, but I will give a speech here in German. It'll be shoved up you whether you like it or not. You think you can make policies in Europe and in London that will encourage America to conscript or to use the American young men to go and fight for you? Now that Trump is installed, the recruiting to the US military has skyrocketed. Why? Because Americans will not fight for woke. They won't fight for your woke. They'll only fight for the values that I tend to put forward here. And that the only army that's properly equipped that could hold back or restrain Russia. But to the consternation of the EU and all of the corrupt Europeans and the Irish government, Trump simply rang Putin and said, come on, when are we going to meet up? And Zelensky can go and hump off. If I were in Trump's position, I think I'd give Russia a certain jurisdiction over all of Ukraine, rather than split it. Don't forget, Stalin gave it to, he established it, didn't he? Oh, he gave the Crimea to Ukraine. So I give them that. Now, what you're probably going to see is this dividing of the Ukraine. Well, why not keep the whole thing? Why not let Russia have it? But with certain guarantees. It may be that certain territory will be ceded to Russia and the Crimea is gone. How can Zelensky be sitting on his peacock throne and him not elected? No voting in Ukraine at all. Oh, you can't have it. Oh, he says, why can't you have an election? Because he'd kill any candidate that went up against him and has been doing that. It's well worth watching that speech with J.D. Vance addressing the Munich Security Conference. Well worth it. As well and as eloquently put as I could have done it myself. Essentially, things move in a strange way. The European Union is in collapse, economically, morally, spiritually, and every other way. In fact, we have a Pope whose credentials are open to question. But Vance quoted Pope John Paul II, whom he obviously greatly admires, and helped pull Poland out of the grip of communism. And here they're doing it again. He more or less tells them, do you think that American soldiers stormed the beaches of Normandy? Stormed the beaches of Normandy to install the very thing they were fighting against. Totalitarianism and the withdrawal of the freedom of people to speak their own mind in their own country for fear it would offend someone from 2,000 miles away who's illegally in the country. Great speech. I'll try and get it posted underneath. Thank you all very much. We are winning. We are winning. We are winning. And we could take our defeat by the left. We could live with it and manage it. But they can't take it at all. We have to make sure as we go to beat them that we drive them nuts. We drive them bananas. You want to see Robert De Niro, a grown man, my age. See these idiots. Anyway, folks, good times. Great times in actual fact. The Ukraine war won't last much longer. And I don't know what will happen after that. But it's good news. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll cripple the EU. I pray to God above. Please destroy the EU. The European Union cannot be reformed. It must be destroyed. We must go back to nation states and see ways that we can get on along together on things that are mutually important. I think we're getting there. I think we are. I think that the power in the world in future will be America, Russia, China and India. And I'm not just convinced that the BRICS currencies are going to be a total success, but in that you can see that unless the individual states of the European Union break away, they can do nothing. Because you see, in Hungary, they elected their prime minister or their leader, and he was cancelled by the court. So that's what they're going to do. So only by getting out of the EU, and the European Court of Human Rights has to be got rid of too. It's the one that keeps all the migrants. Only in that way can we save anything of what's left. We might not convince the people of Ireland, but we're getting there over in Germany, in Hungary, in Romania, in Italy, and in Holland. They'll fight hard to hold on because they have nothing once their house collapses. The lefties in America have nothing left. Trump is after signing at least 40, if not 50, decrees banning everything the left proposed. That's the way it is. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, and I'd like to hear from that's Sullivan. Come on, kid. Let's hear from you. And a lot of those fellas are from inner city Dublin. I do call into the dirty pubs there when I go down for the bus sometimes in Talbot Street. God almighty, there'd be that depth of urine on the floor. Ooh, I might drink a whiskey in them and I might not. And the dregs of the British Army, you see, the slums of Britain were used for recruiting for the British Army, and they were sent to Dublin and they mixed with the locals. And there's a bit of that in too. In any event, I'm sure there's a few Irish gobos there as well. So that's it. We'll let you see you back, but do look at that video of France. JD Vance. He's left the European Union. He's left the NATO. He's left the whole lot of them finished. They don't know whether to laugh or cry. But the bottom line is they're weaklings. They are nobodies. In the wars or in the industry or anything else, they're unable to compete. They don't even have one discussion forum. They're trying to ban Musk. And I love those words of JD Vance. If we can put up with Greta Thunberg for all these years, you can put up with Elon Musk. Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Good luck.